friends! I'm really excited to share this book with you. This is my helper today. I'm going to share with you a book called Almost to Freedom. It is by Vonda Michaud-Nelson and illustrated by Colin Bootman. The illustrations in this book are just absolutely gorgeous. I hope that you can see them because a lot of the book is very dark. But I'm going to read you this first page here. I'll show you the picture first. It says, I started out no more'n a bunch of rags on a Virginia plantation. Lindy's mama was my maker. Ms. Rachel done a fine job putting me together, taking extra time to sew my face on real careful with thread. Embroidery, they call it. I don't have no hair. Ms. Rachel just made a bandana from some old cloth and tied it round my head like she wore. I used to think about having me some hair, but now it don't bother me none. So this story is told from the perspective of a little girl's doll. And the family, they are slaves on a Virginia plantation. And it just, as the story goes along, the doll is always with her owner, Lindy. And Lindy names the doll Sally. And you can see, like in this picture, they are, it's so hard to, they're working on the plantation. And there's Lindy tied to her waist right there. No, not Lindy, Sally, sorry. So Lindy always has the doll with her. She ties her around her waist. They're always together. And so the story goes through, just talking a little bit about slave life. And there's several, parts. They're just heartbreaking. Sweet Lindy gets whipped by the master. And the dolly, she falls to the ground and she has her face down. And so she says, my face is on the ground, but I hear the overseer's black snake whip. I hear Lindy screaming. I hear Ms. Rachel crying. And when it's over, I see the cuts on Lindy's back. So it's a truly heartbreaking tale. But it goes through and the doll talks about this place called North and this thing called freedom. And one night in the middle of the night, the doll is awakened by Lindy and tied to her waist, and they steal off into the night. And so they end up at a home of a white man and a white woman who they have a cellar where they hide them, and they give them food, and they give them water, and they give them pillows. And the doll says, Lindy lays me on the pillow. It's the softest thing, like a cloud from heaven. Just so beautiful. And then once again, this is such a beautiful, I'm sorry. They're actually so happy. And the doll says, Lindy says to the doll, night, Sally, we almost to freedom. And the doll says, if I coulda, I'd a smiled too. And she makes references like that a lot, where if I had a heart, it would have pounded right out of my chest. Or she squeezed me so hard, I thought the stuffing was going to come right out of me. Just such cute little phrases. So then once again, one night, they end up having to wake up in the middle of the night and run once again. And the dolly doesn't get tied on tight enough. And she falls to the dirt and in the cellar still. And she gets left behind. And she's so upset and sad that she didn't get to go with them. But the nice lady, she calls her the silver-haired lady, she comes into the cellar and she tucks Sally into a blanket and a pillow and leaves her there. And we don't know how long she's there, but she says, I have a lot of time to think about Lindy. And she's very lonely down there in the cellar. But then I'm not going to tell you the rest. I want you to read it. But one of the things that I like is that, well, for one thing, I forgot to mention, this book is a historical fiction book, and the reason that it fits into that genre is because it is a fictional story. Of course, it's told from the perspective of a doll. So it is fictional, but it is about events that happened in history. So these events were very real, very much they could have happened, aside from the doll talking, of course. But one of the things that I like is in the very back, it has this page of historical words and phrases. And so it has words like big house, which meant the slave owner's home. Let's see, she talks about a privy, which is an outhouse. An overseer is a person who directed or supervised the work of the slaves. And so I thought that was really neat that they had kind of a historical glossary for us. And there's also another little part, author's note, that says that the author got her inspiration for this book from visiting the Museum of International Folk Art in in New Mexico. And she saw this doll in the case and she thought, oh man, if that doll could talk. And so that's what kind of inspired her to write this story. So I hope you will all go check it out. It's a beautiful story. Thank you.